Hey everybody, Happy New Year. Hope everybody's doing alright. And obviously since it's New Year, LPL is on its break, and during this time I'm come together with these two fine gentlemen, the big brains of the LPL, Jordan Lyric Corby and Dagda here for a little bit of a Q&A discussion session. Now, let's not delay at all, going straight into this. Now, one thing that everyone's been asking during this break is how the jungle changes for next patch are going to be affecting the LPL. And the first question comes from Hina, and she asks, is Boa the real deal? She's a big FPX fan and has been really enjoying Boa's aggressive playstyle on his Olaf, but with the jungle nerfs, she's concerned about whether or not FPX can adapt to the meta as a new team. So I'm going to send this one off to Lyric first. How do you think the jungle changes are going to affect the LPL meta, especially for carry junglers like Beishang and Boa?
I actually think it'll be pretty good. I actually don't know how much they're really going to change the meta. I haven't done any tests to see like what level you get off like a full clear and things along those lines, but I actually think it's good that we should be getting some early game aggressive junglers in. And I can't think of too many junglers in the LPL that, like, I play Graves, Nidalee, Lilia, but I don't also play Lee Sin, or I don't play, Sejuani or something along those lines. Heck, we look at Beishang, right? Beishang's still picking Sejuani now into Pantheon, so, like, I don't think it'll change too much. And in regards to Bo, yeah, I think it'll be fine. And I'll be honest, my league brain isn't super tuned in. Like you said, we're in the middle of the break, but yeah, I don't really perceive anything being worse for specific junglers. I actually think this will just be better for LPL teams overall, especially if a meta with, again, if we do have earlier aggressive junglers persist throughout the year, then LCS, LEC, Korea, good luck, friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm kind of in the same boat. I kind of like, look, if we end up going back towards like Lee Sins and stuff like that, I mean, we were slagged because we always just played Lee Sins. Like, that's what we wanted to see. And I think when we look towards people like Bo, I honestly think that meta kind of suits him better, because at the moment we're kind of laughing at like the mad dog on the leash, where it's like Crisp is actually the one directing him. If he's just like, cool, I'm just going to wander through lanes, kill everyone, and not have to worry about like, oh, I got a counter gank or invade here, he's just going to look even better. So I'm kind of down to see what happens. My biggest concern is more if it goes towards that like super tank heavy meta. I think that's just for me, that's boring. I don't want to see a whole bunch of like Sejuanis and stuff coming through. I'm just like, give me something that's gonna fight early. Exactly. Yeah. Zach I'm down with, but like I want to see Lee Sins. I want to see these high, like, where you actually get to showcase some of the skill you have, not just hey, I tossed in an ultimate on Sej. Good luck, friends.
Okay, but with the golden XP slashes across the board, what do you think it'll be? Do you have like a prediction on which way it'll go for will it be Lee Sin and Elise, or will it be Sejuani and Zach, do you think?
Personally, I think probably the Lee Sin end of things. I think if you're starting to go tanks, it's kind of like a change elsewhere, where you're looking at like, hey, you've got a lot of bruisers that are coming in, or you want to go like super late game and stuff like that and kind of protect the AD carry. I don't think we're in that meta right now. I think we're still perfectly happy playing bruisers and, you're more mid-game focused AD carry. So I think we'll probably see more like Lee Sins and stuff, and then playing towards lanes. And because like if you get a Samira like 3 kills in the early game, cool, it's over. Like, it doesn't matter if you got a Sejuani or whatever, Zach. It's just like the game's done. So I think we'll still see it kind of tend more towards the early game aggressive junglers.
All right.
I think we'll see a mix. So again, I haven't in-depthly looked at these jungle changes, but since there's going to be less gold, I assume we're going to go through this phase where we have like the Lee Sins, the Jarvans, these things come out, and they'll probably stay just because we have so many players that play those things. But I feel like if you're going to get so much less gold anyway, and we're already tending to get, right, Kai'Sa, Xayah, Aphelios in the meta, then you might as well just pick something like Sejuani. You're fine with getting no gold. You're going to clear your camps just fine. Things like Lee Sin really can't like mess you up on invades. That I feel like we're going to have both. I feel like we're going to not have these low economy tanks at first, but maybe a few weeks, of like a month or two into the split, people are going to be like, hey, I can just be a CC bot and my team is going to win because we have these hyper carries in bot lane anyway. You have front-to-back team fights. Yeah, so I think it'll be both.
Yeah. I think champions like Lily are going to become super high prio. I think Lily just got like, hey, you can go the Moonstaff build, so that's super low econ and you get like a huge amount out of it, and you're still able to farm super effectively. You can play multiple different styles with this champion. So I think champions like her will just rise up, and we'll see a heap of that.
Okay, all right. Well, continuing to look to the future, Return of Benjamin Ryan asks, what LDL talents are you guys looking out for if you guys watch the LDL? I'll send this one off to you first, Dag.
I haven't honestly been keeping up a huge amount with the LDL. I mean, with LPL 7 days a week, it's hard enough to keep track of that. There was a few that I was keeping an eye on. Like, a lot of the guys coming up onto the IG roster, I was kind of keeping my eyes on, like Lucas, Snow, these kind of guys, trying to see how they were going to work out. But they were more so the guys that I was focused on rather than like the entire league as a whole.
What about you, Jordan?
There's one player, which again I haven't been following LDL this split either, but I'm gonna assume he's still playing in LDL. I'm probably gonna butcher his name, but I think it's a player that anyone, at least when I was watching last year, I was super hyped, waiting for this guy to turn 17, 18, however old it is to play in LPL. Xiao Hongren.
Yeah, Xiao Hongren.
He's with TT.
He's TT
right?
Young.
So I mean, right, that guy was ranked 1 on KR Challenger for so much last split. Everyone talks him up from all the like teams and coaches I talk to. They're like, hey, I mean, they say TT is literally just waiting for the day that this guy turns old enough that like the team they have now, it's kind of whatever. They hope they can get some wins, but like this team is just like an incubation pod for this guy to be ready, come into the league and kind of take over. So yeah, he's the player I'm still looking at for the future.
Yeah, Xiao Hongren right now, I think he just turned 16. And yeah, if I were to give my LDL talents, I would say one is Xiao Hongren, obviously. He's been very proactive. He's often the one that's looking for these early leads. He's gapping the junglers straight out of the gate. And the second person I was thinking of would be Kepler on a SDX. I think Kepler, when you come from the LDL to the LPL, you have to have a mix of things. One of the big things is actually the confidence. We saw LDL talents like Fodic come to the LPL and they had a lot of confidence issues. And Kepler isn't just proactive. He doesn't just have the mechanics, but when we saw him at Demacia Cup, the first showcase against LPL teams, he still had that same proactivity. He was still just as confident. So that's the other person I'm looking out for right now. So one would be Xiao Hongren, and the other one for me would be Kepler. Now, moving on, Ben Sadu asks, has IG awoken, specifically eyeing TheShy? Has the former world-class top laner finally broken his curse? And will we see an IG resurgence in the second half of the split? What do you guys think? Does he pass you guys' eye tests?
I'm not convinced.
No way, dude.
No.
No way.
I'm just like, you know what? When I look at like teams like EDG and FPX and how good they are, I'm like fully on board those hype trains. I don't know about the IG hype train. I think there's just, yeah. I mean, Shun hasn't really impressed me in the jungle. And even if we look at like him trying to support TheShy and stuff, I still think there's a lot of issues. So I'm not fully on board. I think Jordan's kind of in the same boat as me as well.
Like, if we're talking about TheShy specifically, it's the type of thing where unless I see it for a whole split of him like dominating people, I'm just not gonna hold my hopes out and believe it's gonna happen. And again, he's so reliant on his style of champions, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you look at all the champions he's played. He's getting Gnar so much of the time. He's the best Gnar player we have in the LPL, I'd probably say. All of his other champion picks are almost all still just like range carries that take attention. But I do have faith in IG. I don't necessarily think they're going to win the split or anything like that. But I think with Lucas coming in, I do think Lucas looks way more stable than Balan does, like very obviously. And he has the same amount of map impact that Balan did, in my opinion, which I guess would make sense since he was on a team with Shun before already. So I think this team will still be like a, 5th, 6th place team in spring. And I mean, the question will always be about Rookie and TheShy, right? Because if Rookie and TheShy pop off, I don't think it matters if the other 3 are bots or not. And luckily, the other 3 aren't bots. So, hey, you have a serviceable core 3. I guess the funniest thing is the fact that Rookie's been having some funny games lately. I mean, he's been laughing at them, so,
Well,
I think the bigger one for me is just like seeing if Shun performs in something that isn't Italy. Like, so much of him seems to rely on, hey, do you get Italy? And if not, it's kind of a coin toss as to whether he has a good game. So I think if I could see, I mean, especially for seeing this like change in jungle meta come through, how he slots into that would make me a little bit more confident about IG. But I think right now there's just the entire team is just so back and forth and coin flippy for me. It's hard to agree with that.
You're looking at it all wrong. If Rookie and TheShy just smash lanes every game, your jungle can do whatever he wants.
Okay, actually,
true.
I was about to bring this one up. the way TheShy plays is still just that same anomaly. And I would ask if you ever would want to see him change that, because looking at the LPL right now, he's still actually the best laning LPL top laner by stats. His XP difference at 10 and CS difference are first in the league, above players like Nuguri and Flandre, and he still has the highest damage percentage share in his team. So he's not exactly been a slouch in terms of the numbers. So what specifically is it that you're looking at when you look at TheShy?
One thing I actually really like about him is the fact that he is a top laner that understands when his death doesn't matter. When he's like, okay, you know, I've pulled up all the jungle pressure, we have this set up on the map, and he knows, like, I need to get my wave in. If I get my wave in, it is, like, the most important thing ever. It doesn't matter if I die, give over a bit of gold. I'm already ahead in XP. He's always arranged into melee matchups, so he's already whittled down, you know, turret plates and things like this. So I feel like his wave management in a pure 1v1 setting is actually really good. It's not as good when you factor in, you know, jugglers and things like that. But again, I feel like a part of the story of those stats is the fact that a lot of the time TheShy gets more than what he gives up. And that's something, just a quick tangent to RNG, I feel like someone like Xiaohu doesn't understand yet, where you'll see times where he'll split push too far and like he'll start to back off and still get caught out, where someone like TheShy realizes, hey, if I get this wave into turret, it actually doesn't matter if I die. I'm so far ahead, I get the bounce back, you know, kind of XYZ. So I don't want to see TheShy change his play style. I think it's fun. I think it's, you know, really intelligent in that setting. But obviously, for a team game, not so much. But hey, I want to see IG cater to TheShy and Rookie. I don't want to see Rookie.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to add on. Was like, I actually want to see TheShy keep doing what he's doing, but I'd love to just see like a little bit more setup for him. Like, you know, we can watch RNG and the way they play around Xiaohu is like wards galore in that top side of the map, making sure that he's able to shove in and he kind of knows where everyone is at all points in time. I think if Shun was able to give a little bit more of that to TheShy, I think then we'd probably see him knowing this when he can actually go for this a little bit more and make a lot more sense. But I think overall, like, it's TheShy. You don't want to see TheShy change. No. Like, the man's a legend.
Absolutely so. And all right, moving on to our next couple of questions. This one's a duo. They're both related. First one comes from a hipster walrus, and he asks, what non-popular teams are you most excited for? So excluding Worlds attendees, Worlds winners, what lower tier team, or not necessarily even lower tier, but more low-key team are you excited for? Comboed with Pokemon Go Fanboy asks, what is the most overhyped team this split? I'll send this one to you, Dagda, first.
Okay. Shout out to Kelsey Moser, who's hyped on TT, but I don't know if I share that sentiment. She came on the LPL podcast. I was like so enamored with this team. Personally, and look, they're breaking my heart right now. I want to say BLG. I really want this team to do well. Like, I really like Aiming. I think Aiming's been fantastic. Meteor as well. He came in, he was rookie of the split, and this meta really just doesn't suit him. Like, he only really plays Graves. It doesn't matter if it's a good matchup or a bad matchup for him, he's going to go towards Graves. And I'm really hoping that, like, as this shift starts to come through, and maybe if we do see these more aggressive styles, he'll go back towards the Elise that he looked really, really good on in spring 2020, bring out the Elise. Like, that style, I think, could work really well for BLG, with Amy being a monster. So I want them to do well, and I think BB can do reasonably good too, but they've been hurting my soul. I said it a while ago, I really thought BLG were going to do good, and it just really hasn't come up.
My answer for a middle lower tier team, I'm just gonna skip the obvious one because everyone already knows like V5 would be my answer if they fall into that category. But I talk about V5 too much, so I'll give my secondary answer, and it is TT. I really like TT. I was super hyped for this roster coming. I remember when we did Bevies with the boys, I had them. I think I had them highest ranked on my tier list out of all of us, and all of that.
You had them like 13th, 14th, right? You had them pretty high.
Yeah. I think I had them like 12th or 13th, but it was always under the assumption that Xiaopeng would play, because like looking at their roster of junglers, I know there was some hype for that VV guy. I don't really care for Bless at all, but I fucking love Xiaopeng. I don't want to see people complain about his Rek'Sai. Xiaopeng is great. Xiaopeng is high rated in Korean solo queue. I feel like he's one of the best understandings of like early game gank pathing. He's a pretty good team fighter. I don't like to see him on things like Graves, though. I actually don't think Xiaopeng's good on like a lot of the carry/marksman type jungler. But yeah, I don't know. I think TT's a really fun team. I think Sam D and Teen are able to generate lane pressure. I still would like to see the duo of Captain plus Xiaopeng because we haven't seen that yet. But I think Twyla's playing fine, right? Twyla's actually not really getting bodied in lane by anyone, which is surprising me. He still works super well with Xiaopeng, as we've seen for the last, I think me and Jake did the stat, or me and Oisín, and it's like they've played 226 games together in their career, so a ton of synergy. I guess the only thing I don't like about TT is top lane, right? I actually think Chalitza's been better than I expected because Chalitza was a body bag last year, but, you know, if they get a new top laner, I think this team's really exciting.
I think Captain got done dirty on that team as well. Like, you see him pick LeBlanc, and then it's like, no jungle attention ever. I was like, all right, well, we're not doing anything this game, I suppose.
I know the argument from people I've seen is the fact that, like, he was not the main guy on IG Young, right? Like, it was mostly about, like, Shun and Lucas even, like, setting him up when he would pop off. But I still think he's a pretty good laner. That's something you could see from both his solo queue and his LDL games. And again, it's funny that they finally bring in the best jungle they have. Really, in my opinion, the only jungler they have on that roster. And they're like, sorry, bro, we got Twyla. Hey, maybe it's in Xiaopeng's contract. You know, he only plays if Twyla's right alongside him.
Actually, all right, my pick for the non-most popular team to be excited for was also BLG. But I had a different reasoning. You said it was because of Meteor possibly transitioning. I was actually because I was looking at the way BuBu's been playing this split, and he's completely changed as a player almost from the way that he was on V5. He's been more into this Jace, these Gnar picks, more of a carry style than he was on V5 when he was playing mostly weak side on the Renekton. And his numbers are actually incredibly similar to TheShy's so far. He's also been dying a lot, but he's also been having these huge pop-off games where he's taking a lot of value for each death that he has, and I was really excited to see possibly another rising top lane carry player. And I was thinking that maybe he, alongside Meteor and aiming with that transition, would be able to lift BLG to an upper half standing by the end of the season.
You know what's really funny about this point is I remember before the split, Jake was like hyped on BuBu. He's always like, BuBu's like TheShy, BuBu's like TheShy. I'm like, dude, did you watch V5 at all? Like, what are you talking about? BuBu's the complete opposite of TheShy. And now the fact that he's actually like changed his playstyle to doing this and BLG kind of play around him is actually really weird. Holy shit, he's a prophet, dude. Hysteric's the prophet.
One of the things I actually forgot to talk about on BLG though is Jue. Holy crap, this guy. He came in to support. He just came in and was like, I don't know who this guy is. I don't know what happened to Mark. All right, I'm sure Mark will be back next time. It's like, I don't want to see Mark. He looks unreal. The thresh was slick. His engages were great. The roams were on point. Like, this guy was an absolute monster. And, like, very much kind of gave me, like, the same kind of impact that PP got at when he came into the league. Was just, like, this completely unknown guy who came in, looked amazing on, like, engage supports, thresh support, all this kind of stuff. And honestly, I'm excited now to see what, if we get more out of Jue. And I think if he stays in, like, this could really be a big turning point for that roster.
But you got to take away that one game that he had. That one game where he was 1 in 13. All right. Well, moving on to the second half of this question. Again, this is two parts. What's the most overhyped team in your opinion? Someone that people are really lifting up, but you don't think really lives up to that potential.
I'll start. I'll be honest. I don't have a current answer because I actually don't think like the LPL community or even on the caster team are really hyping anyone up. Like the only hype I see is for EDG and FPX, and I think both of that is very warranted. But the team that I knew would fail was WE. And it's like, I remember on that Bevies of the Boy episode where we had all of us, I think I predicted them to still be like top 4 or 5, but it was they are going to start the season well and start to taper off. And it, like, to me, it was always expected. I thought they would come into the split with a lot of the, what would be a good word? Like, they'd be able to benefit off the system they built before, even if players like Breathe and Shanks don't play the same way as Morgan and Teacherma. Just the fact that they're mechanical upgrades, you can slot them in and say, hey, just kind of like play your champions, do this. We're still going to play the same way, right? And it'll work. But I've only felt like that would work for so long before teams that had more star power on their roster would actually be able to start overtaking them. And I actually don't think this WE team will really start to do like championship contender status until they start learning how to play more around top And then like Shanks obviously just getting more time because he's still kind of
He's still
average.
green. Yeah.
Yeah,
He's
but
very green behind the ears.
Well,
he is. So yeah, W is my answer.
your point about not hyping any of the teams up, I actually, when W was first popping up, I predicted them before the split started to win the split. I was really high on the WE train, and when that crashed, I guess you could say I definitely really overhyped them.
Yeah, I think it's fair. I think the roster's like pretty good, but I don't know. I still think this team will probably get somewhere between maybe 4th and 6th, but yeah, I don't think they'll be contenders until they figure out those other dynamics. And their bot lane is fucking trolling right now. Holy shit, Joe Missing are fucking trolling. I love them. I love Missing especially. They are trolling.
I'm gonna kind of cop out and say the same because I'm looking at all the teams. I'm like, I don't feel like there's one team that like is particularly overhyped, or at least like disservicely overhyped. Like I think FPX massively deserve the praise that they're getting. They look really damn good. Like watching them dismantle top esports was just so enjoyable. EDG look absolutely insane. And then the teams that were kind of riding that hype, like JD Gaming and Top Esports coming into the split, nobody's kind of hyping them up. I mean, a lot of people are saying, hey, Top Esports are going to come back into it. I'm not as sure, so maybe Top Esports. Like, they've good players, but...
I'm sold. Top 2 Top Esports. You heard it here first.
Yeah, okay, so maybe Top Esports.
There you go.
Because, I don't know, I think that we've got so much good talent in the LPL right now that, like, just having this pure laning style isn't really going to work out. I think Jackie Love is having a really, really good split. And Joao can have good games, but he's just not really fitting into the team in the way they expected. So probably Top Esports then. But that's just because I think they'll still be like top 5, right? I just don't think they're going to be like top 2, like Jordan seems to think.
I believe, dude. I believe.
All right. Moving on, next question. This one comes from Zamelkai. She says, Rogue Warriors are known, or at least were known, for being the absolute monkey coin flip fiesta team. Yet, this split, they seem to be less coin flip and more of a tail machine. Now, what do you see as their core issues, and what can they do to fix them to at least go back to being that 50-50 upset team? And now, she said specifically to direct this one to you, Lyric, as she called you the Rogue Warriors apologist. How do you see this one?
I am. I do. I don't want to talk about this because I love this team. I guess I don't specifically love this team anymore, but man, I love Haro. So I'll be honest. I'll be frank. I just think this team is bad laners. Like I don't think it even matters what you could do to learn to like progress like the mid game or learn about like dragon setups or reset timings when your bot and top. Actually, all 3 lanes in my opinion are just horrible. I actually think they're all bad. Like I will say for Ziv, he's doing better than my expectations. He's actually not really getting absolutely bodied by anyone, so he's probably fine. Even though he's losing lane, I would say a good majority of the time. I think Forge is just not it. Forge's understanding of mid lane is so weird. And again, I was talking with Clement about this. He plays every matchup like he's playing a melee versus range champion, where like you have to all in on certain windows with like the way you have vision and things like this. It's not about like attacking mana pool or playing for CS or playing for roam times. It's always playing for that opportunity to all in. So I don't really like the way Forge plays. I don't think it's that good. And then their bot lane, I don't know, man. They don't have an AD carry. Maybe if they bring that Kulin guy back, I didn't think he was that bad. But I definitely think Chocho should be their starting support. I think no matter who's better, like if Reheal is better than him, I don't think it matters. I think you can see that Chocho brings tangibles on the team where he is very aggressive and very decisive. And when he played AD carry, that's not what you need. So, man, this team just needs better players. Haro's in prison, but I still love Rogue Warriors.
Actually, I wanted to specifically poke you on this one because, of course, you are the former LMS PCS coach. I wanted to ask you more about Ziv in the top lane. He's getting kind of old now, hasn't he? He's been in the LMS as one of their stars for a long time. He's 26 years old now. And coming to the LPL, predictably, since they are in last place, Ziv is also last place in almost every major category for top laners. And I wanted to ask you maybe why you see Ziv doing that. Is it time for him to hang up? Is he any specific laning mechanics that he's messing up?
I actually think like mechanically Ziv's fine, like in terms of like being able to hit skill shots. Or I remember one of the things he was like famous for back in LMS was he was like so good at dodging skill shots with the Maokai Twisted Advance. He was like fucking insane at it. I think mechanically he's looked fine, but
some of his team fights are a bit shaky.
The problem with judging Ziv, I think, other than in lane, is the fact that Rogue Warriors even just leave him to dry. Yeah. I think Clement's the one who's pointed out so many times on broadcast, like, hey, they're doing this swap, which, will get their AD carry back in the game, but, well, now Ziv's going to fall behind, like, 3 levels and lose a bunch of gold, and it's like, what can you do? But I agree. I think from watching PCS and LMS before, Ziv was already tapering off. I mean, heck, Ziv got actually subbed out the season before he came to LPL. He wasn't even the starting top laner on HQ before he came. Again, I feel like he probably is getting close to time to hang it up, which feels bad because in season 5 he was just such a monster. He was like the best player on the HQ team in my opinion by far. But I don't know, man. It's a sad when another LMS brethren is falling to the wayside.
All right. Well, moving on then. Next question. This one's for both of you guys. It's more of a lifestyle question from Dr. Uber 100 asks. Well, obviously neither of you are in Shanghai right now, but last year, life in Shanghai, were you comfortable? How much did you miss home? And who or what helped you adjust to life there the best?
I still remember, Jordan, the joy on this guy's face when he realized that there was White Castle in Shanghai was absolutely insane. I think you heard him like 3 floors down screaming his head off about it.
But it was disappointing. It was disappointing, like compared to like US White Castle, but I still was excited. Even if it sucks, it's still White Castle. But I guess talking about Shanghai, for me, it was easy to like move there and just kind of adjust, just because I've lived everywhere, right? Taipei, Istanbul, Brazil, NA, spent months in Europe and Korea. So it's kind of like, I feel like when you travel enough places, even the unique things lose an identity in the sense that they're unique. You're just kind of like, well, this is different, and different is every 6 months for me. So, but adjusting to Shanghai, I think, is a bit harder than most places for the fact of like VPN and like, I'd say it's more open. It's more open to the West than some places I've been, but also more closed. So you are losing some comforts that you will have in other places. So to me, Shanghai ranks in like the upper middle of places I lived in. It wasn't too bad. I mean, right, I've been living in a Mandarin speaking place for most of my esports career, so even that is just kind of like good for me, kind of comfortable. Take it away, Dagda.
Yeah, for myself, it started off reasonably okay, where I was just like, oh yeah, this is fun, this is cool. And then this is back in February 2020, we all kind of pieced out to go home because of the virus that started. And then when we came back, because there was so few of us, I found that like, say, because I was living with Munchables, say Munchables was on the broadcast with Jordan, and then Hysterics was to visit his girlfriend, I was kind of like, I don't really know anyone. Like, I've got my day off. It's like, I'm quite a sociable guy at home. Like, I have a lot of people that I could head out with. So not having kind of that support network was a little bit tough. Where I was just like, I don't know what to do. Like, I want to go out and do things. I don't know anyone. So I kind of forced myself.
I can confirm. Yeah. He does want to go out and do things.
Yeah. So I think that was the hardest part, was just like not having people that because of the language barrier as well, and because I didn't actually know the area, like that was tough. But I have to say, like, the people in Shanghai are lovely. Like, they're incredibly friendly, and for a guy who's a big idiot who can't.
Real quick, I'm the bit like. It was so crazy. Wherever we would go, there would always be some like people who would just come up and start talking to Rob. I still remember the last time where we're just standing
on the train
in the metro, and some girl just starts talking to him. And I think she was a lawyer, and she's just like asking about what he does.
Yeah.
And, like, that would happen so frequently. Whenever I did decide to go out to bars with them, because let's be honest, I just want to play games. I don't care too much about going out, so that didn't affect me. When we go to bars, he'd be making like 10 friends. It's insane, dude. Everyone wanted to talk to him.
But that was the thing, was like, it was because of the hours that we worked as well. It was kind of tough because like we'd be in the studio from 2 p.m. maybe even earlier depending if it was spring, but you'd be there 2 p.m. till midnight. So it's like, well, I can't meet anyone for lunch. I can't meet anyone for drinks after work because by the time I get to the bar, it's closing in 45 minutes. So there was just stuff like that was tough. But the people in Shanghai definitely are very, very nice. The guys we worked with were great. I think that was just the hardest part that I found adjusting was like, hey, actually meeting people that I can interact with and do things with rather than just being stuck in the house a lot. But when it comes to Shanghai, there's so many things that are kind of there for Western people. Like every type of cuisine you can think of is there, like food wise. Although I had to bring my own tea bags, the cup of tea was essential. But but other than that, like you can pretty much get everything there. So I think from that point of view, it was pretty all right. It was just the not having the social network there was probably the hardest part for me.
I remember my time in Shanghai. You're right about the cuisine thing. I found some of the weirdest blended Western Eastern cuisine there. There was this one Italian restaurant in a mall somewhere in Shanghai that I went, and they had a pizza where instead of tomato sauce, it was duck sauce, and then obviously have the duck and the cilantro on top. And you could either eat it like a slice or you could roll it up into a duck wrap. And I find that to be one of my favorite little blend things that I've seen.
Pizza Hut being fine dining broke my brain. Like going to Pizza Hut and there's like wine glasses and you've got like your starter and your what's the word I'm looking for? Your main meal, your main dish. Knives and forks on the table, and I'm like, "What is going on?" Main course,
thank you. Is like a steak. Like that seemed like their big rush. Like, hey, come to Pizza Hut to come eat a nice steak. I'm just thinking, what is this? I mean, I was fine with it, but yeah, it was.
It's like, can I get buffalo wings and a pizza? And they're like, no, we don't do buffalo wings. Like, huh? What? It's Pizza Hut.
Yeah. Did anybody ever recognize either of you from LPL? Obviously, not too many people watch the English cast over there, but wasn't there ever a moment where anyone ever stopped you guys?
I don't know about Jordan, but I got plenty of photos taken of me. I don't know if they recognized who I was or they just took photos of me. I'm not entirely sure which one it was, to be honest.
No one in Shanghai is going to recognize us as LPL casters. It's just not going to happen.
All right.
Yeah. The gym I go to in Shanghai though is a guy who watches LPL and is aware like, hey, they have English casters, and me and Jake became kind of cool with that guy. So, but yeah, he wouldn't we would just look like random foreigners. They'd be like, who the fuck is this guy, dude?
All right. Moving on then. This one comes from someone who wanted to stay anonymous. They asked, why did Clearlove come out of retirement only to not play? Can you give more insight on that one?
It's bans, isn't it?
Don't know nothing.
All right, moving on then. Okay, to a question from Unshu Haksama. This one is related somewhat to last year coming into this year, and he asks about Xiaolong Bao, and he asks, what are your thoughts on him being benched for Wei, and what team do you think would benefit most from having Xiaolong Bao if he wasn't on RNG? Where would you want to see him next split if he can get off?
I'll start with this because I was very firmly from like the beginning that I didn't think he was that good. I thought he was the worst player on that RNG team. Wait, actually, New was there.
Worse than New?
But New, I was just going to add, the problem with New is that his role didn't really matter, right? Like, he was just going to play random bruisers and tank pressure in the top side anyway. But New was worse than him. But point is, I feel like he lost so many games. There were so many times where his pathing didn't make sense to like what RNG were playing towards. There were so many times where he would show on the map for like a pressure gank, and like their team is all their wards bot side, and like they're playing for dragon, they're playing for a bot tower dive, they're doing this or that, and then he shows in a lane, and now they give up so much info. He goes into the enemy jungle solo and dies, things along those lines, and it's like he had so many pop-off games. It's so little pop-off games that I can count them on my hand. It's like this guy was inconsequential. And again, I don't want to shit on him. Maybe he can get better. Mechanically, he was obviously very good, right? He was like really good on champions like Nidalee, which obviously are very hard. So, but I didn't think he was that good on RNG. Maybe if he plays on what's supposed to be like a middle or lower tier team and kind of, works his way up, like someone like Ike's did, right? Ike's was honestly horrible when we saw him at the beginning of 2020. I do think Ike's now is actually pretty legit. So, maybe if he takes that route. In regards of a team, I think he'd be okay on. What team doesn't have a jungler? That's a question.
I think every team has a decent jungler right now, even bottom teams.
Yeah,
that's true. I mean, even OMG RW do. And I don't think the LGD junglers are actually that bad.
Quay.
Yeah.
Well, I guess he's going to LDL. Have a good time.
I mean, what's worse, LDL or RNG's bench?
So that's the question, because I'll actually talk from a player's perspective, that a lot of the times from players I've worked with, they would rather play in a league than be on like a bench, even if it is an academy. So when I was coaching both in Brazil and in LMS, I had players who we were benching and they're like, please just let me play somewhere else, even if it's academy. So he would probably prefer that, but you know what? Just send him to OMG or LGD. Let him work his way up there. But sending him back to new, that feels kind of harsh. Oh wait, they're not using him anymore. OMG aren't using him.
Oh yeah, OMG aren't using him. It's Aurelia now.
Yeah.
What about you, Dad? You got anything to add?
Yeah, to spin it back, I think Wei is one of the best junglers we have in the league right now. This guy is an absolute monster. I love how intelligent his jungle pathing is, where he's like, okay, cool, I can play around Xiaohu, I'll get this ward, I'll drop a camp or two, I know that they're going to invade, but he'll just have this really cool pathing that'll get him back into the game where he's either even or ahead, even after falling behind. He's just super intelligent as to where he needs to be with the RNG game plan in mind. So honestly, like, if I'm a toss-up between Xiaohu and Wei, I'm picking Wei every time. Like this, I did not expect this guy to be as good as he is coming off the E-Star lineup, and I think whatever was going on there, maybe he didn't get to show his stuff, but now in RNG, like, he's really shown. Like, I think I have him like top 2, maybe even if not top 3. He's definitely top 3 anyway. He might even be top 2 jungler in the LPL right now.
Absolutely, yeah. He's been looking really incredible. And actually, you were talking about how intelligent he is, how good his pathing is. That's what I was thinking. With the new jungle changes, he might be one of the bigger beneficiaries, because this will play more towards his style, you know?
Yeah, especially the way RNG play as well. Yeah.
All right.
If you're like just trying to set up Xiaohu, cool. Like way back, as Jordan was alluding to there, like an E-Star was just gank bot level 2. Let's do it. So I mean, if that's the way that this is gonna go, yeah, I mean, give him the Xiaohu, let him do his thing, and it'll be all good to go.
All right. Moving on. Next question. This one comes from the very aptly named Jackie Love Simp. He or she asks, "What is your top 3 hottest LPL players?"
Ooh.
As in looks wise.
Looks-wise.
God damn, I don't even know. Mitsuki, because he became a model.
Okay, yeah, all right.
That was 2020 summer. Jackie Love, because he also does some modeling. And that's where I'm falling short now. I actually don't know.
I think most people would say Crisp or Jackie Love for... not Jackie, Crisp or, what was it? Bowland, maybe? Or...
I already have 2. One is Crisp. One is Twyla, because I think Twyla is just so cute, especially when you see him on stage, because he's the shortest member of that team. It's adorable. I love Twyla.
Oh,
my
Icon,
last one,
right?
though.
Icon? Look, I'm not gonna lie. I'm not great at telling which lads are good looking. I'm gonna go with Icon.
I liked Icon.
Icon stereotypically.
Yeah.
I liked Icon when he had his edgier hairstyle. He's not edgy enough for me anymore. You know what? I think two answers is good enough. People didn't expect the Twilight answer, so it should count for 2.
Chris, Twilight, and Icon for you. All right. Moving on. This one comes from iPad King 1116. They ask, of all of the players so far this split, who do you think has been the most outstanding, or the one player to watch? And which one, in your opinion, has the potential, it might be a little bit early, to hold their performance until the end of the split and win that split MVP? And I think this question is kind of hard, because all of them are junglers in my mind. And with that jungle shakeup, it could change quite a few things drastically.
Yeah.
I actually think it's going to be Viper. I think Viper's the...
Yeah.
I feel like Viper is the only answer. Like, I guess if some people said Nuggery, or even, I guess, Bo to an extent, it wouldn't be that weird. But I feel like FPX as a team, like the way they play, it feels like a lot of their wins are coming off of things they're doing as a team. To where
Chris and Bo together.
Even though...
Yeah,
exactly. To where when I look at EDG, sure, EDG's like team play is really good. I feel like their objective setups are the most correct. Everyone on the map is doing fine. I still feel like because they play so heavily team fight 5v5 oriented, a lot of their wins are just coming off of how fucking insane Viper is. So, and if we're talking about a team that has to also win so we can get split MVP, Viper is the easy choice. So, you know, we're only talking about spring. Don't worry, V5 fans. Mo's coming for that summer split. Mo's coming.
Want to like just kind of add as a side, maybe Crisp, like just for the FPX. I think he's a bit undervalued right now because he's been insane in getting like managing his own lane. Like they got a bunch of duo kills in lane, but also him working with Bo has been insane. And like as Chris was talking about in one of the interviews, he's saying like, "Hey, look, to be honest, Bo has no real clue what he's doing. So I kind of just sit with him and like show him as to where he's going." And for Chris to be able to kind of micromanage Bo, manage his own things, still be able to set up a ton of these plays on Rel. His mechanics on Rel as well are absolutely insane. So I think Chris, I want to give a little bit of a shout out to. I do agree it probably is Viper, but honestly, I think Crisp is very much there for me as for an MVP split.
All right. So we got Crisp and we got Viper. Now, moving on, actually aptly, again, this one comes from Maple Violet. You were just mentioning Mo for MVP. Maple Violet asks, what accounts for the struggles of V5 this split so far? They personally thought that V5 would remain a top team after retaining the core three of Mole, Weiwei, PP God. And would you attribute this more to their playstyle being figured out so far to some extent, or the underperformance of the new additions to the team?
I've thought about this a lot, unsurprisingly. And I think there's a few factors, because the only loss that they have that I think is tragic is the TT loss. And I'll be honest, I don't remember those games at all. So they don't exist. Because we look at EDG game 1. They should have won that game. Game 2, they're very clearly tilted. It like when Mole went to go solo kill scout, and it's like he's just inting left and right. It was like 2020 spring when he looked tilted and just inted every game, and like everyone thought he was bad. And then like their other losses were to RNG and WE in very close 2-1 series that they could have won. I think partially it is figured out that they are. It's weird because they're one-dimensional and they're not. They're one-dimensional to me in the sense that you know where they're going to play around the map, but they're one of the more versatile teams, which is why I like this team so much, in how they can get pressure, right? Because they showed in summer of last year, they can gank and dive bot, get pressure through bot, transfer that around the map. They've also shown they know how to draft pushing lanes, invade the enemy jungle, set up Weiwei. They also showed, hey, Weiwei actually does know how to gank mid, and they can set Mole up to have pressure from mid lane. So it's not too one-dimensional, but it still is like, hey, we know they're not going to do anything about top side. I feel like in terms of players falling off, I feel like PP God is the obvious one. I feel like Weiwei is still performing really good. I feel like Mole is still performing as you would expect, like popping off on the Syndras, the Zoes. Other one he's tilting, again, doesn't exist.
Mole's tilting.
It happens. But yeah, I don't know. PP God is not having the high highs that he did in summer, right? He's still moving on the map. He's still roaming early on, but we've seen them get 2v2 killed quite a few times this split as well. And it feels like he's locked in lane a lot more than we saw in summer. And their top lane situation is a mess that, Dagda talked about.
Actually, I was about to mention that, actually. As the PP God Pope, I also very, very closely follow PP God stats and how he's playing. And I was going to know, Weiwei still performing incredibly well, racking up MVPs, having the highest KP, getting early leads. But PP God, it seems like people didn't quite realize the value that Sam D had until now. He was a good laner, and he was also very self-sufficient. PP God could often leave him, and he'd establish pressure by himself, 1v1 in the bot side. This split, neither Trigger nor Y4 seems to be as strong of a laner nor as self-sufficient as Sam D was, and that's caused PP God to stay in that bot lane a lot more. His KP has dropped compared to last year. He's only got a 10% first blood rate this year, when that was through the roof last year, always roaming with Weiwei and Mole.
Yeah, it's super weird, because again, like, especially when we think of Y4, like, we all know Y4 is not a strong laner, but at the same time, when they played with Y4 last split, PP God left him equally as much. I don't know if it has to do with champions now, because obviously the meta was very different last split in terms of AD carries, to where maybe, again, in terms of communication, Y4 feels like he needs PP God in lane more, but it's disappointing.
Yeah. I think the one for me as well is that, and Clement actually talked about this in the cast, not specific to V5, but when I think of V5, a lot of that is around the Rift Trials, right? They want to get that. They want to snowball the game out of control. And I think teams have gotten better at playing around Rift Trials. Not like, oh, we need to just go and fight for this thing, or we have to give it up. They're just like, hey, we can actually like transition pressure to the bot side, make sure they're able to trade this for turret plates, and we actually don't end up losing out as much. And I think that kind of hurt V5 because so many of their things were, hey, we can take the fight at Rift Herald, or we can take the Rift Herald and then trade up from us and use that to start our snowball and our advantages. And I think now that teams are actually getting better at playing around that, I think they're struggling a little bit more. But also kind of one of the things Jordan hit on there was, I actually don't see them playing around bot side very often. And that was kind of the bigger surprise to me. Like, if you're in a matchup where you're really worried about Y4, I thought, hey, they just send way down, get a couple of ganks off, and then unlock PP God from the map that way. But as you're saying, he's kind of pinned to the bot side a little bit more. So I don't know. I think there's enough things there that they need to try and be figured out, and probably to change up the dynamic that they've had from last split.
I also want to remind everyone that Y4 and PP God solo killed Viper Mako. I casted it. It was funny. It made no sense, but hey, it can happen.
All right. Adding to that last question, looking at the new additions, so far V5's roster situation has been a little bit of a mess. Obviously, top lane we've had 3 people we've seen so far, Audi, Longsting, and Invincible. And in bot lane we're seeing almost equal splits of Trigger and Y4. And who would you prefer to lock down that starting role based on what you've seen so far in both the top lane and the ADC position?
So I'm a Longsting apologist, so I'm gonna say Longsting in the top lane. I really like this guy. I know there's like, I don't know if he fits with the team as well, though, is the only thing. I feel like Longsting does really well in, hey, look, completely ignore me and just play around bot side. I'll use my lane advantage and TP advantage to set you up on that bottom side. And I think with the way the V5 are playing right now, I don't know, probably Longsting wouldn't work in the team. So realistically, it's probably Audi, but I want to see Longsting back. I want to see him back somewhere. But and then probably for the bottom lane, I'd look towards Trigger. I think Trigger's definitely been the better one for me. I think he's still a little bit green behind the ears, but I think as the split goes on, he'll improve a lot.
Actually, one thing about Longsting, before, sorry to cut you off, Lyric.
Yeah.
Actually, his benching, from what I've seen so far, has been more of almost a personal dispute than it has to do with his performance, because him and Assassin, V5's head coach, have gotten off to quite a rocky start, I believe, because Longsting was struggling in solo queue, and Assassin believed that he wasn't working hard enough to regain his position, and they got into a couple scraps in the comms before games because of that, and that's when Longsting got benched in favor of Audi. I don't think it's more of a play thing, actually.
Okay.
Sorry, Lyric, to cut you off. You can go.
Oh, it's fine. But Longsting, Assassin, that doesn't matter to those guys. What matters is my opinion on who should be playing. Sorry, Assassin, but it should definitely be Longsting. Longsting's the best top laner to have. I do think Longsting actually, kind of to go against what Rob said a little bit, I actually feel like he does slot in the way that V5, maybe not how they're playing every game, but the way they should be playing, and the way I feel like they've played most of their games is when they were playing with Audi in that one game with Invincible. I don't know why they were trying to play around top side. Didn't make sense. When Longsting's in, it's all about mid jungle, so I think Longsting's good. Longsting's laning as well is, I think, like pretty fine, like average in the LPL. We saw at Worlds this guy can pop off. I think he was the best player overall if you talk about both play-ins and groups on LGD. So, yeah, keep this guy in. Bot lane, I think I'm going to go against the grain of what most people would say, and I'm going to say Y4. But this answer needs context of, it depends if you are V5, what is your goal? Is your goal to do well in spring, or is your goal to just say, hey, we don't care about spring, we're going to look towards summer? Because if it's that, yeah, put Trigger in. But you can see that they don't work well enough with Trigger. And again, we could all assume it's communication, but it feels like when Trigger's in, PB got even more than with Y4 is like hard lock to bot lane. And he also has to play more of like a peeling zoning role than he does with Y4. And yeah, I feel like Y4 fits the system that V5 had in summer. So that's what I want to see. And you know what? I like seeing Jhin and Misfortune and these kinds of champions every game. So, you know.
Well, if it's one thing that V5 know how to do, it is playing for summer rather than spring, as we've seen before. Now, moving on, this is another bit of a silly question for both of y'all. We're coming to Vash Cook's question. He asks, fuck, marry, kill, Hysterics Munchables Penguin. Gonna have to make a tough choice here, fellas.
Yeah. God. So, okay.
Okay,
have you got answers? I did. Yeah. Okay.
Look.
Oh yeah. You've never met Penguin. That makes it easy.
No. I'm gonna marry reason why. I'm gonna marry Jake because I'm already married to Jake. Yeah. Jake's behind this wall.
Wait, didn't Jake propose to Dagda though?
No, yes. I proposed to him, but he turned it down. Yeah.
But
sad times.
Point is, me and Jake are pretty much already a couple. Jake cooks and cleans, and I make all the decisions. That's how it works. I'm going to kill Penguin and Fuck Joe for this reason. That I think if either of them watch this, Penguin would be the least insulted about me killing him. I think he'd be a bro. Not to say that Munchals wouldn't be a bro, but I think Penguin would be a bit more of a bro.
I would have
Like,
just
"Yo,
taken
man,
the
it's
easy
cool."
road up. I've never met Penguin. I don't know how attached I am to this guy. Like, I feel like that's the easy road here.
Me and him play Valorant together, though. We play Valorant. We're boys. I can't.
Oh.
But I'd still kill him. Sorry, Oisín. I fucking love you, dude.
Well, kind of at the same, I'm gonna marry Joe because I live with Joe. We do bevies with the boys together. I feel like it's gonna be really awkward if I don't say Joe. God, I'm gonna go reverse. I'm gonna just so that Oisín doesn't get killed twice. I'm gonna say, oh fuck, man, and kill Hysterics just for the point of like, look, let's not leave them out to try.
Alright, if you added Clement to this equation, how would that change your answers?
Oh god, this changes everything, dude. This changes everything. First of all, I can't kill Clement, but I also can't fuck Clement. Our bond is too intimate. So Jake has now been divorced. Clement is now married with me. Now the answer changes even more. Jesus Christ, you know what? Just. I'll fuck and kill the rest of them, dude. Have a great
Oh no! Oh no! Wait, what order? Oh no!
Marry Clement and then double dump the rest of them.
Have a great one night stand, then just off them each. Not the opposite way. Clement's all I need, boys.
Yeah, I was gonna say that puts you in a really hard spot. I met Clement for like a week, so I feel like my bond isn't as intimate with Clement before we all get
I've known Clement for 6 years. That's a big one.
So I'll stick with pretty much the same, to be honest.
All right.
Yeah.
Moving on then. This one comes from Anemasphere. They ask, do you think the overall strength of the LPL has gone up, down, or stayed the same relative to last year when we had TS and JDG as the front runners?
Yeah. For me, it's definitely up. Like, LPL this year looks insane. I think the interesting one for me is like the AD carry role. I didn't realize how big of an upgrade we're going to get with like Aiming coming across and Viper now coming across. And specifically like the teams we picked up for like Nuggery and that, like for FPX. All these teams have just got massive upgrades in my opinion. And then when you look at like, okay, yeah, JDG slumping, whatever, top esports a little bit off form, but honestly, it's not even like if they get back to form, they just definitively win. Whereas it felt like last year was just like, hey, it's a toss-up between who wins between top and JDG. This year, even with them on form, I don't just hand it to them. Like, this LPL right now is like the closest and kind of the most competitive I think it's been in quite a while.
I actually think the opposite. I think it's weaker than summer because my thing is, I'm not convinced by the teams under our top two right now. To where in summer I thought all the way up until I thought our top 5 and 6 in summer were all good. Like, right, when we looked at like V5, Suning, JDG, LGD, even like IG and FPX, I honestly think like would have been fighting to get out of groups. Like I don't think Western teams would have been able to just roll over IG or FPX. So to where when I look at now, it's like, okay, EDG and FPX are good. I don't even think they're as good in context to the time period as JDG and TS were, where we were looking at JDG and Top Esports as like, one of these teams will for sure win Worlds. Now I'm looking at EDG and FPX, I'm kind of like, these teams are good. These teams can win an international event, but I'm not sold yet. And RNG, WE are the next tier, right? And I'm not sold on either. I love RNG right now. I think they're the smartest team in LPL. It's super fun to watch them play, but a lot of their wins are very shaky.
So I think the difference, like I'm kind of looking at the two extremes, right? Where I think like if you put like EDG, FPX, Top Esports up top, we've just improved, in my opinion. Then if you look towards like the bottom of the pack, I think our bottom table teams, I mean, kind of Rogue Warriors, OMG out, have gotten a lot better and a lot closer. So I think it's probably the middle kind of where you're kind of going, hey, maybe
Yeah.
that's taking a little bit of a fall, but like I suppose I'm kind of looking at the two ends, whereas you're kind of looking in the middle.
I'm looking at like I'm comparing like our top 7s or top 8s, and you're comparing like the top 3 and then the bottom. So yeah, that makes sense.
All right. Let's make a little bit of an adjustment to the question. How does this change your answer? If instead of comparing this year's LPL to last year's LPL strength, what about last year's LPL compared to other regions' strength compared to this year's LPL versus other regions' strength, if you've been keeping up with any of the other regions?
So the only ones I've been keeping up with are LEC. I haven't got to watch any LCK, and a tiny bit of LCS. But LEC, personally, for me, looks a lot weaker. And I think that's not a secret. Like, even the broadcast has said it as well. They just aren't really doing it for me. G2 look good. They look okay, but definitely not as dominant as they did in years past. Fnatic has definitely taken a step down, although I think Upset has had definitely his moments in champions like Samira. So, and even Mad Lions are struggling quite a bit this year as well. So I think, honestly, in that sense, LPL is looking pretty good. But I don't have a comparison point for LCK, and I feel like that's the real one that we kind of
That's
need to
the
look
important
at.
one.
Yeah, exactly.
From what
So,
I've heard
yeah.
and from what I've seen from the LCK, I've heard that compared to last year, the consensus seems that has gone down a little bit, mostly because Damwon was really carrying LCK last year, and if they're starting to struggle a little bit this year, then it's kind of natural that as a region they've gone down a bit. And this year, Damwon has got off to a little bit rockier of a start than you would have expected. They're still doing pretty well, but they've had a couple uncharacteristic losses and some struggles to closing out games.
All right. Well, I'm still on the hype train. I think FPX are going to win Worlds. So I'm just going to go, yes, LPL are going to win.
I'll be honest, I'm in the exact same boat as Rom. I only watch LEC like as every game. I watch some LCS just because like I'm awake at the time it's on, so why not? It just sucks about LCK, right? Because LCK is on when we're on.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's very hard to find time to watch a full LCK game. You can watch part of a game like before we go on broadcast, but like Rob said, it feels like that's the important point of comparison. It doesn't matter what I think about LCS. We all know LPL is going to be better than LCS. So, but I'm sticking to my guns at V5. It's the year of the mole. V5
it's
will
funny.
win Worlds.
FPX. Birds are moles. Birds beat moles. They eat them.
It's funny that you say that you don't care about LCS, because our next question comes from Frequently Poggers Phoenix. They ask, thoughts on TSM Swordart? Did he make the right decision, and is he worth the price? And what has his effect on Suning been?
Whose point of view are we looking at for the right decision? Because if I'm
Swordart's decision, and that's obviously yes.
Swordart's done great. Swordart has done amazing. Yes. So yes, I again haven't been able to watch a lot of his games. I actually wanted to go back and watch the to see a TSM TL game today, but work got away from me. But I'm literally going to go and watch that tonight, so I'll have a better informed one later on. But yeah, I mean, from TSM or from Swordart's point of view, amazing. Like you were kind of reaching your peak, and I don't mean that in a bad way. It's just like he's getting on in life. Yeah. Like when you look at him in the relative age of things, he's just kind of past his prime. So to pick up the amount of money that he did and then get over to NA, I think is amazing. I don't know if he's having a big of an impact, but I don't think you're ever going to beat Core JJ in the sport role over there. Core JJ is just an absolute monster. So in that respect, when you're always comparing him to Core JJ, it's going to be difficult. But I hope that he has the best over there.
Now, what about your take on it? Is it worth it for TSM? Did they make the right decision spending $6 million on a support? That's been the real contentious question.
That's so much money. Like, I don't care who you are. That's a lot of money. Like, I don't know. I suppose I'm frustrated at NA that it's just like, hey, we'll toss money until the problem goes away. Especially when you look at them now trying to take back the ban on like how many people are like imports you can have, slots you can have. I think that's just silly. So for me, it's like no, but that's kind of like more of me as a whole in NA. It's like stop tossing money at people, build up your region.
The sadder thing is that they're tossing money and it's not working because it should be working.
Yeah.
The fact that they're paying these salaries, the fact that they should be able to get these players, and even if they're not now, because right, like it feels like now, especially for Europe, to where maybe before more Europeans would be willing to go to NA, they realize now, hey, like EU's getting more competitive in terms of money and in terms of prestige, and viewership is higher now. It doesn't make sense where you look at like 4 years ago where everyone would have wanted to go to NA because of the money and the viewership and all that. It's like how did NA not get up there? It's just, I don't know, man. It's embarrassing. In terms of TSM for me, this team does everything wrong. Everything. So many of their wins, dude. I mean, I didn't see the one today where I do hear the win was actually legit. But like you think about the CLG game where they're 9K gold down, or who was their other win against? I remember it was also just as shocking. It was just not good. Can't remember, but like
I don't remember. Actually, this is funny because I've watched every LCS game. I don't remember.
And people are like pointing fingers at certain players. Like you'll see a finger pointed at Huni some games. People say Swordart's not worth it. They'll say, hey, Power of Evil's not Bjergsen.
Lost.
Was it go to Guardians?
Yeah, and it's like Spica's been the one to get the least blame, but I don't know if people have seen it, but Cajal does like these like mini reviews, and he did one pointing out how Cajal's pathing pretty much just solo lost TSM one of the games, and it's like I don't want to blame players because this team is just so disconnected. Like they're not trying to do anything as a team. Like recall timings are off, jungle pathing's off. I feel like their laning overall has actually been kind of fine. I don't want to talk too much about drafts because I'm so honed in on LPL drafting being the way that I love. So whenever I look at any other region, I'm like, what is this stuff?
Talia Redacted. Just take Talia Redacted.
So I don't know, man. I think TSM has a long way to go, but at the same time, we look at Suning in 2020 spring. They were a trash can. So yeah. I think TSM could do it. The question is, with the way NA operates teams, I don't know if they will. I feel like it's just kind of a coin flip. So
actually,
but we love you, Swordart.
You're talking about how TSM looks so extremely disconnected, almost like they're not playing as a team. And that was one of the biggest things that I heard on the offseason for TSM picking up Swordart, is that he was going to bring cohesion to the team. And that was one of the big
ridiculous.
Behind it. Yeah, that's what
because I want to say something about this because like, and it's going to sound like I'm flaming Swordart, but I'm not flaming Swordart. When he did those interviews, and fans are like, this is great, he's fluent in English. He's not fluent in English. You do not know what the word fluent means. And I remember I was having this conversation with Jake, because Jake used the word fluent as well. I'm like, dude, it's not the right word. He has passable English. He's fine in English. For a non-native English speaker, his English is good. For a League of Legends player in a team environment who's going to be calling things, he doesn't have good English. It'd be like Jake, in China is going to speak Chinese and people are going to tell him he's great Chinese. It's like, yeah, for a random white guy on the streets of Shanghai who isn't Chinese, your Chinese is great, but like Swordart would never like work that way. It was never going to work that way this soon. Swordart's going to need time before like he can actually call correctly and use more than basic words. You can listen to like their TSM videos and he talks very like slow. He doesn't use complete sentences. It's going to be like a process. I think expectations were so weird from fans coming in with Swordart.
And those were the expectations because people were saying that he was perceived to be the glue on Suning, who was made up of a lot of players who looked individually very flashy, but sometimes could have questionable moments. And that's the next part of the question is, now that Swordart is gone from Suning, we've seen them get off to a little bit of a slow start this split. How much in hindsight, or how much do you think just in general that was he impacting that roster? And how do you think they're going to do without him now that they have On, formerly Owo, now in the bot lane?
I think in my power ranking I had them 12th or something. So yeah. I saw this coming. Like, just think back to spring with this team, even when they had Swordart, because I not only thought that this team would be relying on Swordart, I 100% believe this team was very, very, very meta reliant. Like, you look at when they got strong, Bard's coming to the meta, Ashe is coming to the meta, Jhin, carry junglers, like the perfect storm hit for where Suning can now be like, oh, cool. The fact that we are terrible at like front to back, really coordinated team fighting doesn't matter anymore. We can shine through picks. They can start team fighting through like individual skill and outplays because they got really good at that. But yeah, I feel like the Suning roster is hit by two things: a combination of like the meta slowly changing and the fact that, let's be honest, On just isn't ready to play in LPL. And even if Angel says they're all shot callers, that's not working for them. So I don't see this team going anywhere anytime soon. Maybe they'll make playoffs since we have 10 teams now, but they're going to be 9th or 10th in my mind.
Yeah, I'm not convinced by Sunny, especially like whatever about sword art and shot calling and everything else that he brought to the team. Like on, as Jordan said, just isn't ready. Like he makes so many positional mistakes in lane, even plays where they actually should be able to pick up kills, he actually backs away from. Like there's so many times I'm just looking at him going like, what are you doing? Just that you like even the like basic stuff like where you're positioned if you want to play aggressive as a support versus defensive as a support. And so many times I see him positioning offensively when there's absolutely no reason that he should be, and he just like dies. Or even the reverse is just insane. So I think On has a lot of growing to do, and it's impacting them overall. But then you don't even add it on. Like this is to get to a relatively okay level, and then you add on everything else that Sword Art brought. It's not going to look good for a while.
For sure. Yep. And moving on, this is my final question. This one actually comes from just me to round things out. How are you all enjoying your break so far? What have you guys been doing?
I've been spamming TFT, and I've been enjoying it. I've got an opportunity to play the new set, so I've been doing that. And then I was getting some other work done as well because I might have an event coming up. I'm not 100%. Trying to get the details on that. And then other than that, I found this pineapple rum that I really like. Ooh. And I've been making the most of that.
My goal has been to climb up high in all the games that I play. So I'm trying to get to Diamond in TFT. I'm then going to switch to trying to get back to Diamond in League. And I've been playing a lot of Valheim. I'm just playing games as, I am in a hotel right now, trying to slowly make my way back to the good old Shanghai. But, man, I love my break. I just get to play games and watch LEC sometimes. So it's cool.
You said you wanted to climb high in all your games. How do you climb high in Valheim, Lyric? What's your goal there, my friend? Where are you at in Valheim?
Kill everyone and everything. Speedrun it. Speedrun it.
Okay. I've beaten the Elder. That's. Okay. But hey, I'm like farming my skills a lot, So like I'm just like spamming, like trying to get my spear skill up, trying to get my block up. I'm trying to become OP, dude.
Okay, but Lyric, did you know actually? Have you been playing any multiplayer on Valheim?
Yeah.
Did you know you can upgrade your skills on other players even when they don't have PvP on?
Yes.
So if you really wanted to farm your skills, you could just get a friend and just stab him for half an hour.
I don't want to do it to my friends, dude. I care about my friends. We're buddies.
You just killed them like 3 questions ago. What are you talking about?
There was no other choice. I guess there was a choice because I broke the choices with my answer anyway by saying both. So.
No, the thing was you could have killed one of them. You killed all of them. You could have just said, you're like, no,
you killed Jake too.
They're all dead.
Yeah. Even after Mary Clement, you killed Jake too.
I'm a fucking psychopath, dude. What's wrong with me? Clement was precious, dude. I have to keep Clement safe.
But does keeping Clement safe entail killing everyone? Are they all like threatening Clement behind the scenes? Is something we're not seeing?
You can't trust play-by-plays, dude. You can't trust them. They don't know what they're saying half the time. I don't know what they're saying half the time. So Clement wasn't safe. I can trust Rob. Rob can live, but those guys.
Don't trust him, Rob. Don't trust him. If you were on that list and Oisín was sitting in your spot right now, he would have killed you too.
I know.
All right.
Never.
Quick, end the interview. Cut it.
Any closing statements? Any closing statements from y'all? Anything you want to add?
No, just thank you very much. It was great to be on and kind of like chat to the community and see what kind of questions they had. So thanks for organizing it. Like it's really cool to kind of get these moments to actually to talk to yourself and have an interaction with people rather than just being a face on a screen.
Yeah, I have a lot of closing statements. 1, Dan, you're awesome. Thank you very much.
Hey,
2,
let's go. Thank you, Jordan.
LPL Discord, you guys are also amazing. Thank you for giving us questions. That's why I love to. I always like come and just stay in the shadows in our Discord and read the conversation. These people aren't saying. Sometimes I'll pop in. But not
Lyric. Actually, before we end, Jordan, if you've been reading the conversation, there's one statement that was made that everyone's been memeing in the Discord, and I wanted to get both of your takes on this specific one.
Okay.
Does Zeka have the potential to be better than Rookie? How close is he to Rookie right now?
No. No.
Rookie's
one of a kind.
Yeah, and I just even want to address this because I always see that people said that Fofo to Zeka, like that was a side grade trade. Like they're even. They're not even. I think Fofo is way better than Zeka. And if I think Fofo is way better than Zeka, that shows you how far off Rookie is, because Rookie is way better than Fofo. So I don't know.
All right, well,
Zeka's okay. Zeka's okay.
Zeka's okay. Well, he is still really young. He is, what, 17 right now? So he's got quite a bit of time to develop up. So that was the last closing statement. I'd like to thank both of you for appearing. It's not... don't thank me for organizing it. I got to thank both of you guys for being willing to come on here today. And with that...
That was a pleasure.
We are just normal guys.
Yeah.
Well, you're not normal. You just killed 3 of your friends in cold blood.
That is very true, actually.
True. All right. Well, with that, peace, everybody. Say goodbye. Hello.
Bye-bye.